Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary peoples. This is Bronson's Fighting. It's necessary fantasy football talk for Wednesday, November 30th, 2022. It was another chaotic morning at UPS. We actually got out later and more volume, which is rare. Usually Tuesdays are heaviest day. Got out later. It was just crazy. Like, it was another morning of late planes and no volume early and getting slammed at the end. It was it needs to start getting better. It needs to start getting more efficient and more organized because this is ridiculous. The last 2 days we could have came in at normal time instead of an hour early and not missed anything. But I don't have a whole lot of time to really feel even on my day. I slept from 8 until 2:30. I kind of wanted to work all night, 4 to about midnight. I'll probably take an hour break in there, hour and a half break in there to eat and stuff. But I didn't work Monday, and I worked a little bit last night because my insurance finally got accepted, like 6:30. So I went out for a little bit for dinner, but it was so freaking. I got 3 deliveries in like 2 hours, and they were taking forever to make all 3 of them. So I would go to the restaurant and sit there, and I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'll come back out tomorrow for a full day. That didn't happen, so I need to make it a full night. So from like 4-ish to midnight, or whenever I meet my goals. I don't typically like to go out before 5 because traffic, but gotta do what I gotta do tonight. I gotta make some money. So let's get this content out there quickly. This will be the quarterbacks and tight end spikes and yikes video for week 13. So we'll start with the tight ends. Your top 10 list. Travis Kelce at 1, right? Travis Kelce's gonna be 1 all year probably. There's nobody else even close. 2, Mark Andrews. So Travis Kelce's in Cincinnati. Mark Andrews is versus the Broncos. 3, we got Pat Freiermuth at the Falcons. 4, we got TJ Hockenson versus the Jets. 5, we got George Kittle versus the Dolphins. 6, we got David Njoku with Deshaun Watson back. David Njoku at the Texans. David Njoku looked good last week. He's looked good this year when healthy. He may finally be realizing his potential. 7, we got Dalton Schultz versus the Colts. Dalton Schultz coming off a 2-touchdown game. 8, we got Gerald Everett at the Raiders in Las Vegas. 9, we got Tyler Higbee versus the Seahawks, which you never know what Higbee you're going to get, but Higbee should lead the Rams in targets moving forward. And 10, we got Foster Moreau coming off his first good game of the season. He'll be seeing the Chargers in Las Vegas. So my yikes there. I have 2, Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett has not really, early in the year when nobody owned him on the fantasy team, he was doing really well. So people started to pick him up. And then, we kind of thought that with Keenan Allen hurt, with Mike Williams hurt, Gerald Everett would his targets would go up, his production would go up. It didn't really happen. He couldn't really handle being the number 1 guy in that pass catching in that offense. So it was disappointing. But now Keenan Allen's back. Mike Williams, I believe, is still out this week. Joshua Palmer has emerged. DeAndre Carter's become kind of reliable. So Gerald Everett is back in his 3rd, 4th in the pecking order, where he can be moderately productive but not great. I'm not a big fan of his this week. I did pick him up. There is a league where I don't think I'm going to be starting him, but I wanted him as my backup tight end because he felt like an upgrade from what I had. Plus, I have the Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen stack. Why not add to that Chargers stack, right? So I got Gerald Everett, but I probably won't be starting him this week. I don't like him much. He's not a top 10 play for me. And then Foster Moreau, also not a top 10 play because we just haven't seen what we kind of were anticipating from him. With Darren Waller being hurt last week may have been a change of trajectory, but the Seahawks, just like the Cardinals, both those teams are giving up massive numbers to tight ends. So I'm leaning more towards it was a fluke. So he's probably still top 12 play for me, but I'm not putting him in my top 10. So the dudes outside the top 10 who I'm spiking this week, I got Cole Keenum at 12. He, no matter who the quarterback for Bears is, if it's Justin Fields, Cole Keenum skyrockets to maybe top 5, top 6 play. Well, no, probably top 8. I don't know. I don't think Fields is going to play. I think he's going to be seeing it. But Cole Keenum should be the primary guy in that passing game with Darnell Mooney out. Chase Claypool hasn't really shown it yet. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a big game for Claypool. But Cole Keenum has been more trustworthy, which is hard to fathom the way he started the season. But he's been more trustworthy so far this season than Chase Claypool. So I'm leaning towards Keenum at least catching a touchdown for us, getting 4, 5, 6 catches, 40, 50, 60, 70 yards. Pretty good day. And then at 14, Tyler Conklin coming home to Minnesota. I don't know why we didn't re-sign him. I don't think he wasn't super expensive. He was productive for us. I liked him. He liked it here. Or he liked it there. I shouldn't say here. I don't live there. But he's the number one guy in New York. In Minnesota, he would have split time with Irv Smith. And, if we'd have re-signed Conklin, we probably wouldn't have got Hawkinson. Hawkinson's significantly better, so I'm happy with how it worked out. But we probably should have chose Conklin over Irv Smith in hindsight. But we didn't know that. But anyway, nevertheless, I like Tyler Conklin against my Vikings this weekend. He's a top 12 play, possibly top 10 play for me as well. For the quarterbacks, Spikes and Yikes, let's get your top 10 list out first. Top number 1 is Patrick Mahomes at the Bengals. So Mahomes is at 1 for quarterbacks. Travis Kelce is at 1 for the tight ends. 2, we got Jalen Hurts versus the Titans. 3, we got Josh Allen at the Patriots. 4, we got Justin Fields versus the Packers. Still very questionable. 5, we got Joe Burrow versus the Chiefs. 6, we got Justin Herbert at the Raiders. 7, we got Lamar Jackson versus the Broncos. 8, we got Deshaun Watson making his debut against his old team, the Texans, in Houston. 9, we got Trevor Lawrence at Detroit. And 10, we got Tua Tagovailoa versus the 49ers. Oh, I forgot to mention, I am spiking Tyler Higbee as well this week at 9. Because like I said, I think he's going to lead the Rams in targets. And he's facing the Seahawks, a team that's been getting gashed by tight ends all year. All right, so my Yikes at the quarterback position. I do have 3, starting with Justin Fields at 4. I don't think Fields is going to play, so he's not even in the rankings for me. But if he does play, I don't think he's going to be super great. So he'd probably still be a top 10 play, but not top 5. And then Deshaun Watson at 8. I truly believe in Deshaun Watson's talent, and I'm not going to go on the soapbox or do any speculation to his guilt or innocence. But I think he missed a whole year for really no reason. And then he missed almost this whole year. So I think he paid a pretty hefty price, especially if he's innocent. He paid more than enough. So he's going to be a little rusty. It's been a long time since he played. We saw him in the preseason. He didn't look super great, but, preseason is, a totally different animal. Sometimes people look bad, and then they come out and play just fine, and when the real season starts. But it's all the football we've seen from Deshaun Watson in the last 2 years, and so it concerns me a little bit. I do have Watson. I've been carrying Watson all year. I've picked him up for agency because I think he's going to be a stud quarterback for teams down the stretch, especially in leagues like me where I don't prioritize drafting a quarterback. Getting a guy like Watson at this stage is going to be great. However, I don't know how good he's going to be right off the bat. I think like I said, he's going to be a little rusty. I don't know if I trust him this week, even against a team like the lowly Texans. So he's outside the top 10 for me, just outside the top 10 for me. And then Tua facing a really tough matchup in the 49ers. I know he's got some fantastic weapons that should keep him afloat in the top 10. And maybe I'm just being a little harder on him because I have him, and I kind of am stuck starting him this week because I can start Tua or Watson in one league. I can start Tua or Kyler. Kyler's on bye, so I'm stuck with Tua there. Other leagues, I think I have Herbert, so I'll probably go Herbert there. But Tua, I mean, I don't know. Can you sit Tua at this stage? He's been fantastic for us this year. But the 49ers are a tough matchup. And with all the great names that we have outside the top 10, who I'm going to talk about here in about 30 seconds, I'm downgrading Tua a little bit. Still top 12, not so much top 10. So my spikes, I got 4 guys outside the top 10 who I think will have, or should, maybe not necessarily have top 10 weeks, but should be higher in rankings. Starting with Geno Smith, just outside the top 10 at 11. Geno Smith has been fantastic. A fantasy diamond in the rough for teams this season. He's been very consistent. I see no reason why he won't put up another top 10 week against the Rams team that seems to have given up. 13, you got Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has been not great so far, but he hasn't been bad really either. He's thrown at least 2 touchdown passes since coming back from injury. Colts are a moderately tough defense, but the Cowboys offense seems to not really. They've been very efficient this year. Good defenses don't seem to be phasing them too much. I like Dak Prescott as a possible top 10 play. Kirk Cousins at 18, I don't get all the disrespect. He's not playing on prime time, which he's shown this year that he can do fine on prime time. It's just, Monday night. Us fans are worried about Monday night, but he's not playing on Monday night. I made sure to check before I did this video. He plays at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. East Coast time. 10 a.m. Pacific time. So the first wave of games on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is where he excels at. So there's no reason to worry about him, even against a tough Jets defense. I think he's possible top 12 play. And then Mike White right down at 22. We saw Mike White was the number 1 fantasy quarterback last week, so keep that in mind. And we've seen what Mike White, I think it wasn't last year. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I don't even remember, but we saw Mike White do this before. He came out and just lit the NFL on fire for like 3-4 weeks. And then everyone was like, man, this is the Jets guy of the future. And then he had a couple of starts where he fell flat on his face. And teams were like, maybe not. And so, can we trust Mike White against the Vikings? Probably. I mean, we did just let Mac Jones have a huge day. Our defense, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's not great. And it's been looking worse lately, which is not a positive trend. But again, the secondary, we just cannot seem to get that secondary fixed. Too many injuries this year. Lewis C and Andrew Booth were our first 2 draft picks of the year. They're both out for the year. Lewis C barely played at all. Wishing him a full recovery on that gruesome leg injury he suffered in London. But we really haven't even heard anything about him since that, which is concerning. But the Vikings need to never, ever draft from the 32nd spot again, which is usually the spot reserved for the Super Bowl winner, right? But I'm not saying I don't want us to win a Super Bowl. I just want us, if we win the Super Bowl, we need to trade out of that pick, either up, back, I don't care where, but never draft in that spot again because that's a cursed spot because we have Lewis Cine now, and then Teddy Bridgewater was drafted with the 32nd pick, and he ended up with a gruesome, almost career and life-threatening injury as well. So it's just all bad. We never can ever draft from that spot. Again, we got to trade out of it if we ever get it again, which, God willing, we will get that draft spot again in my lifetime. And we'll actually earn it by winning the Super Bowl, not trade into it or trade back, whatever, what have you. But yeah, I think we can trust Mike White. I would definitely start him in 2 quarterback leagues. I wouldn't start him in a 12-team league. I would probably roll him. I don't know what's after 12, 16. I've heard of 16-team leagues. I'd roll him in a 16-team league. I would never play in a fantasy football league with like anything more than 16 teams, unless it's like a real rosters, dynasty thing where there's 32 teams. Because once you get past 16, it gets weird with teams having quarterbacks and stuff like that. So it's just not a nice round number. 16 is a nice round number for 32 NFL teams. 20, 24, whatever, what have you is not. So I would never play in a league like that. It's either 16 or go straight to 32. But Mike White, I would trust him in a 16-team league this week. I think he's going to have a decent to good game against the Vikings. I wouldn't say he's going to be the number 1 fantasy quarterback, but he's trustworthy again for this week. I don't know why. I probably should have put him in my waiver wire video for yesterday for quarterbacks, and I apologize for that. But I guess I didn't want to talk about hype him up too much because he's facing my team. But he's definitely worth having. He's worth riding this hot hand until he inevitably cools off. And he could be a guy who gets you into the playoffs. He could be a guy who wins you a playoff matchup. It is getting to that time of year. So you should check where you are in the standings. And figure out if you still got a chance, figure out what you need to do, figure out your positioning, jockeying for it, holding it, getting better, what have you, whatever you need to do. I think in most leagues, there's maybe 2 weeks left in the regular season. So best wishes to you. I'm going to salute you. Peace, love, and nacho fries. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to get lunch. I don't really have a whole lot of time to cook something. I don't really want to go buy any, but I need to eat something before I go out. And I guess that's it. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. I probably won't be getting to wide receivers and running backs today like I hoped, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes later. We'll see how much money I end up making here at dinner. I might do really well and end up ahead of schedule and not have to work so hard the rest of the night. That would be kind of nice. But we'll see. I would like to get at least one of them done today. The plan was to do this one yesterday, but I didn't because I ended up working a little bit. And I don't know what else I did. I did something else. I tried to sleep, I think I slept maybe half an hour, and then just ended up staying up all night. So I wanted to get this out last night, didn't. And I wanted to be doing wide receivers right now. So I'm a little behind the schedule. I mean, I'm on normal pace. I'm a little behind the schedule that I set for myself yesterday. So it's all good. It's gonna work out. I'll get them done both before the games tomorrow. Good luck. Good night. Namaste.